Yo, listen close, hill country haunt hunters and backwoods believers from the holler to the heartland. Imagine this. You're holed up in a misty Appalachian town where the moon hangs low like a bad omen, and the folks have straight up outlawed sleep, cause every time they nod off, a shadowy beast claws them from the dream world straight into reality, leaving bloody gashes that sting like hellfire. But here's the real spine tingler. What if that nightmare hunter ain't just a figment? What if it's something ancient, buried in the mountains like a bad secret, and waken, it means the whole damn town pays the price. This is The Town That Never Sleeps, a gut-wrenching ride so thick with fog and fear, you'll be wide-eyed till the bitter end, piecing together clues that might just vanish like mist at dawn. Bail now, you'll regret it forever. Stick around, America, cause the shadows are calling. Hey y'all, I'm your storyteller, old Hank from the Smokies, the kind of fella who's hiked every trail in these hills, heard the whispers of the wind through the pines, and seen things in a fog that'd make a grown man cry for his mama. Grew up on porches swapping ghost stories about haints and skinwalkers, but nothing chills the blood like what went down in Whisper Hollow. You won't find it on any fancy tourist map. It's a speck on the map town tucked deep in West Virginia's ridges. The air there is heavy, man, always smells like damp earth and pine needles, and the shadows just seem thicker than anywhere else. Coal mining dried up years ago, leaving folks scrapping by on welfare and moonshine. Population, 300 souls, give or take. No stoplights, one diner, and a church where the preacher's sermons got darker by the day. But last fall, October 24, it all flipped to hell when the dreams started. Not bad dreams, mind you. These were scheduled nightmares, like the darkness was punching a time clock. And the damage, it followed you out. It kicked off with old Jeb Harlan, a grizzled miner pushing 60, living in a shotgun shack on the edge of town. Jeb was tough as nails, lost 3 fingers in a cave-in back in '89 and still swung a pick like a champ. He wasn't the type to flinch, let alone cry out. One morning, he stumbles into the diner, face pale as a ghost, shirt ripped to shreds. "It got me," he rasps, pulling back the fabric to show 4 deep claw marks racking across his chest, oozing blood like fresh roadkill. Folks laugh at first. "Jeb, you tangled with a bobcat again." But he swears up and down, he was in his bed, eyes closed, and in his dream, a figure, tall, hooded, with eyes glowing like coal embers, chased him through endless, dripping tunnels. It slashed him wild, woke up screaming, and the marks were burning real. Doc says infection, but Jeb, he quit sleeping cold turkey, guzzling coffee like it's holy water. Said he wouldn't close his eyes again for love or money. Word spreads faster than wildfire in dry brush. Next night, widow May down the road wakes with slashes on her arms. Same dream, same hunter. Then the kids, little Timmy from the trailer park, gashes on his legs, babbling about the shadow man in the mine. That's when the whole town sat up and took notice. It wasn't just old Jeb losing his marbles. Town meeting called. Mayor Buford, a pot-bellied good old boy with a shotgun under his desk, slams the gavel. "No more shut-eye till we sort this mess," he barks. This wasn't some gentle curfew, man. This was a flat-out ban on consciousness. Sleep was the enemy. Folks patrolled in shifts, armed with everything from shotguns to rusty axes. They were blasting radios and chugging energy drinks like they were air. The cafeteria turned into a sleepless fortress, open 24/7. Serving Black Joe strong enough to wake the dead. You'd walk through town at 3 a.m. and see mothers crocheting, fathers fixing trucks, and kids running laps just to keep moving. They'd chant, "Sleep's the enemy," their eyes red-rimmed and bloodshot. But the real horror wasn't the gashes. It was watching the town fall apart at the seams. After 3 days, folks were running on fumes, man. You'd see people jump at their own shadows. They'd start conversations with empty chairs. Hallucinations were rampant, people swearing the pine trees were walking, or that the fog was whispering their names. One night, the old town drunk, Crazy Dale, shot his mailbox clean off the post, hollering, "It's coming." He thought the metal flag was the hooded figure. The mayor had to chain the pharmacy shut after people started fighting over the caffeine pills. Whisper Hollow was turning into a ghost town of the wide awake. That's when Sarah, Sis Jenkins stepped in. Sis Jenkins, 28, local librarian and town busybody. The kinda gal who's read every dusty book in the county archive and ain't afraid to call BS on superstition. She was our skeptic, but she was also the smartest person in a 20-mile radius. She grew up hearing her granny's tales about the Mine Wraith, a spirit cursed by a cave-in that trapped 13 miners in 1923. Folks said their screams echoed for days before silence fell, and now the Wraith hunts dreams, feed in on fear. Sis laughed it off at first, mass hysteria, y'all. Cabin fever from these hills. But when her bestie, Ellie, nods off during a mandatory midnight watch shift and wakes up with a shredded back, screaming, bloody murder, Sis saw the terror in her eyes. Ellie wasn't crazy. This ain't right, Sis muttered, hitting the books. The library became her war room. The archives spilled their guts for Sis. Old journals from the 20s, written by miners before the collapse. They weren't writing about bad ventilation. They were writing about nightmares. The figure comes in sleep, marks the flesh. One entry read. Turns out, the town back then covered it up. Blamed bears, blamed moonshiners, anything but a curse. But deeper, Sis found a faded, brittle map. It showed a hidden shaft under the old Harlan mine, sealed after the disaster. Whispers say the wraiths the fused souls of those trapped, clawing for release. Sis knew the risk, but the town was collapsing, literally. 2 men had already been found dead from exhaustion, claw marks on their bodies, and their terrified families swore they just slept themselves to death. Sis sneaks out at midnight, flashlight cutting through fog thick as pea soup, heart pounding like a jackhammer. She reaches the mine entrance, boarded up, vines choking the timbers. She pries a plank, slips in. The air's stale, heavy, and the sound of dripping water is echoing like footsteps right behind her. Deeper in, she finds the sealed shaft. She runs her hand along the wall, cracks everywhere, and then she sees them. Claw marks etched in the solid stone, fresh as yesterday's rain. What the hell? She whispers. Then the whispers start, low, guttural, from the absolute blackness. Sleep, feed. Her light flickers. Suddenly, she feels a razor-thin scrape across her arm, cold claws. She bolts, tripping over roots, and gashes appear on her calf right then and there, without a dream. She wasn't asleep. She bursts back into town, frantic. It ain't just in sleep anymore, she gasps. It's here. It's hunting in the daylight. That was the turning point. The ban was useless. Folks were crashing involuntarily, falling asleep standing up, at the diner counter, behind the wheel. They'd wake up mauled, some not waking at all. Preacher calls it Judgment Day, nailing crosses to doors. Sis rallies a posse, Mayor Buford, Old Jeb, a few brave souls, with lanterns and shotguns, heading back to the mine. The tunnels were screaming now, not just wind, but 1,000 voices yelling from the stone, a sound that rattles your teeth right out of your jaw. They blast the seal, boom. The echo was swallowed by the mountain. Inside, just a heap of calcium and dust, 13 souls packed in like cordwood, claw marks everywhere you look. It was a damn slaughterhouse. But one skull, missing. Where's the last? Sis yells over the roaring wind rushing from deeper dark. That's when the shadow congeals. Man, it ain't one guy. It's a stack of souls, tall as a telephone pole, with arms and legs jutting out, all wrapped in a black mist, and those eyes, red as fresh-poured brake fluid. It slashes Jeb, real wounds, blood spraying. Posse scatters, guns blazing, useless. Sis grabs a bone shard, stabs wild, figure howls, dissolves into mist. But as they flee, whispers laugh. One more, the hunt continues. Town quiets, sorta. Marks fade, dreams ease. But Sis didn't sleep a wink that night, just kept watching the window. Then, right round 3 a.m., that time between midnight and dawn when the veil's thin, she heard it. A scratching sound, light as a mouse, but coming from above her head. She swore her skin went cold as river ice. Days later, Sis is up in the attic, looking for an old quilt, and there it sits on a busted trunk, white as a wedding sheet, the missing damn skull. And when her flashlight hits the sockets, they ain't empty. They're glowing deep, angry red, like those coal embers are still burning inside her house. That thing followed her home. Mystery hangs unsolved like fog in the hollers. Was the wraith real, or town madness feeding itself? That skull, key to freedom, or bait for more? Folks in Whisper Hollow still sip coffee at midnight, eyes dart in. And Sis vanished last week, leaving a note, don't sleep. It's calling me. Dig deeper. Hell if I know. That's the thriller keeping ya up. Phew, that one got me too, y'all. If you're still wide awake, and I reckon you are, smash that like if you've pulled an all-nighter from fear, comment your mountain ghost tales. Subscribe, hit the bell, 'cause the hills have eyes, and they're watching. Stay vigilant, America.